Hi guys, Just Learning for Life here, back with another video. So today we're going to be looking at a game played in 1972 between Benko and Ken Smith. So why did I choose this game to share with you guys? Because what I find really instructive in this game is that it really teaches us the importance of development, how to develop with tempo, so that your development would be quicker than your opponent. So let's dive right into it. It starts off with a Philidor defense, and this knight f6 is a very dynamic continuation. If you just want to play normally, it would be something like this, and then knight f6, knight c3. But then this is basically just the Sicilian. Instead, you take with the e pawn instead of the c pawn. So yeah, this is basically how you want to play the Philidor defense if you don't want to go the dynamic way, because going the dynamic way, now you run into some real big trouble after d takes e5. Because now if you take back with the d pawn, then after a queen trade, knight takes e5, then this comes with the threat of the fork. Therefore, black cannot take this pawn, and he has to defend f7. But now just a simple f3, and white is just up a pawn. So here you have to take on e4. But then here not queen e2, because queen e2 allows d5. And d5 just cements this knight. This releases this tension, and therefore this e pawn actually blocks the e file. And this is literally just okay for black. Black is not worse here, because black could just continue developing normally. Now the way to exploit this is not bishop d3, because bishop d3, knight c5, and black also gains a tempo by threatening to take the bishop. Although this is still a developing move, but a better developing move is actually a very aggressive queen d5. Now, white has to be careful in the next few moves not to allow black to gain tempos on his queen. But then, as you could see, it's very difficult for black to really gain a tempo on the queen. Here after knight c5, the only threat is really just bishop e6 to gain a tempo on the queen. But then now another developing move with tempo, bishop g5. And now after bishop e7, threatening the bishop, then here another tempo gaining move is e takes d. What e takes d does is it forces a response while also defending the bishop, right? So here you can't just win a piece right here. So here there are really just two replies. One is queen takes, one is pawn takes. Now you can't take back with the bishop because the queen is hanging. Now taking back with the pawn, knight c3, black has an isolated pawn. We're ready to castle. Our development is better. Our structure is better. So here, black took back with the queen. But then, now, we don't initiate the trade because it just helps black. Instead, we defend the queen, and we want them to trade because that improves our knight. So black didn't do that. Instead, he played c6. But now, do you find the best continuation for white here? So the best continuation for white here is to not waste time. Not waste time going back with the queen, but instead actually just to take the queen, gain a tempo from castling, And here just continue developing, bishop c4. Now, what's better for bishop c4 than rook e1 is, I think actually e1 belongs to the other rook. And if you go rook e1, yes, you have immediate pressure. But then rook e1, bishop e6, takes. Let's say b4, kick away the knight, and then something like knight g5. But then there's no threat, because takes, then you let black off the thread. Yeah, it is an isolated pawn, but then that is a smaller advantage than what you can actually get in the game. Because now, after you develop your bishop, this rook is tangled right here. It doesn't have a useful square. So the best way to coordinate your pieces is actually to go bishop c4. You're not afraid of take, because after knight takes back, your attack on f7 is very strong. And I'll even show a fancy line. Takes castle right here. Here, you could even consider knight takes f7. Although this may run into b5, and yeah, the bishop cannot move here because then takes, and this would run into some trouble. But I'm just saying that the position is very active. Even rook h1 is very good for white, because look at what these pieces are doing. It's doing nothing, right? So here, bishop c4, you're not afraid of bishop takes g5. Now what happened in the game is bishop e6, but now comes the other rook. You see how white's pieces are coordinating like beautifully. If bishop takes, the rook takes e7 check, and then rook d8 is mate, so you can't do that. So black continued developing, but now bishop takes e7 keeps the king in the center and put pressure on the pin piece. Of course, because why not? Now in this position, you may think, oh, before I kick away the knight, and then I win a pawn right here, and I get the rook inside, and then I get to take the bishop. Well, your plan kind of gets stopped after knight f6. Because yes, you can take the knight, but then he's threatening to take your bishop, because he blocked your bishop's vision on his bishop. So that's not good. So why not just keep the king in the center and put pressure on the pin piece? And then after knight b6, of course you don't lose a tempo by moving the bishop away somewhere around here. Of course not, you take it. After knight takes, now there's really a few winning plans from here. Now what white go for in the game was knight f5 check. But if you're saying knight e4 improve the other knight, or just f4 trying to push f5, I'm not saying that you're wrong. This is also very good. So knight f5 check, king f6, and you keep on improving the knight's positions. See, after they're developed, yeah, they're very active, but then you want to get them to more active squares where it's actually doing something, attacking something, and then involving it around the king hunt. Now black's play from now on is very bad. Rook a b8, which is very passive defensing. You have to go to d8, I think, so try and trade a rook for a pawn and try to activate your pieces. Now here's a very common idea that I want you to learn, which is the rook lift. So what's a rook lift? Now you see the rook is very good controlling the open file. It has very good vertical power. But then after you lift it up to the third rank, you give it horizontal power here. So the rook could just slide over to any square from here, and it's even protected by the pawns. So that's why moving the rook to the third rank is more common than moving it to the fourth and fifth, because the fourth and fifth, it's more controlled by your opponents. But in the third rank, it's still very safe for your rooks to move anywhere. So here what's threatened is rook f3 check, and then maybe knight takes f7, but I still don't think rook hf8 defending the pawn is very good, because now there's nice ce4 check involving the other knight, and now the king is just it's just in a lot of danger, and black chose the worst move possible because it was a rapid game. And here there's mate in 4. Let's try and pause the video and find it. So this mate in 4 starts off with knight of 5 check. So this reveals the rook's control of the d file. King has to go to e8. Now you take on g7 with check. The idea is because he can't take because knight of 6 is double check mate. So he has to go back up, but now you remove the g7 pawn. So you go back with the knight, and now there's no g7 pawn. So knight f6 is checkmate. So yeah, this is a beautiful game played in 1972, and Benko just showcasing to us why development is important and how you develop with tempo so that you get more development than your opponent. So I hope you find this video instructive. Make sure to like and subscribe for more chess content, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.